Hello and welcome to Top of the Props on our brand new YouTube channel here at Betting Expert. Our first episode of Top of the Props came last Thursday and we were going into Monday Night Football, the final game that we discussed on the show with 2 out of 2 void selections. So we were heading into Monday Night Football on for a clean sweep of void selections, which I thought was pretty impressive. And then obviously it was Bournemouth v Fulham, where we had a couple bets as well.
Yeah, it was an annoying one for first episode. There's some good value selections there, but players not playing, they're anticipated to play across the board really. And then the Monday night game, we had 1.6 units staked, and our big bet for that game, the 1 unit bet, Dean Howson to have a shot, and he was just inches away from getting a header in the first half. So a disappointing first episode, but triumphant starts are nice, but we know that's not how it goes sometimes. So we'll bounce back hopefully here, and these markets have yielded good results across the platform for a long time. So let's get it off to a bit of a recovery in the video format.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go straight into it. We're going to start with Everton versus Manchester City. That's at Saturday at 3:00. Man City, the 1.9 favourites after drifting from opening at 1.73. City actually haven't been priced this big versus Everton for a long time. Last season, they were average odds of 1.63 away from home, 1.37 the campaign before that, 1.25 this season before that in 2021-22. So these prices that probably make sense the most considering what we've seen from City this season. And we're going to be looking at one of City's January recruits tasked with getting their season back on track in Omar Marmoush. And actually, which I thought was quite interesting, with 5 games left to play in Germany, Marmoush is still in second in the Bundesliga in terms of goal contributions with 24. So he's just behind Harry Kane, who's got 31 for Bayern Munich. I think he's 4 ahead of the chap in third. So he's quite clearly left a mark on the Bundesliga this season. And you're going to lean towards him leaving a mark in some capacity during Man City's final ever visit to Goodison Park.
Yeah, City's final visit to Goodison Park. They're on an 8-match winning streak at this ground, so now's the time to end it if you're Everton. They've done very well since Moyes has come in. I think they've lost 2 of 13 Premier League matches. Obviously, the first game was against Villa, maybe 2 of 11. But anyway, they've done very well, and getting a result against City in their final game at Goodison will certainly be a motivating factor. They've been a lot more difficult to beat since Moyes has come in. They're offering a lot more going forward, probably sitting a little less deep, but they're still allowing plenty of shots from outside the area. So my bet for this one is Omar Mamouche to have a shot on target from outside the box on Bet365. Price at 2.37 currently. The likes of Paddy Power and Skybet will offer this market as we get closer to kickoff. So one to keep an eye on there. Maybe you'll get a slightly better price, but for now, for the purposes of this video, we're backing on 365 at 2.37. Then conceded 5 shots from outside the box against Forest, 3 versus Arsenal, 6 versus Liverpool in recent matches. City are actually having the most shots from outside the area in the Premier League with an average of 5.8 per game. They've also scored the most goals from outside the box as a collective team with 13. Mamouche has certainly helped contribute to that. He scored a screamer a couple of games ago now. But in terms of the pure data, he's averaging 1.6 shots per game from outside the box. He had 2 shots on target in their most recent away game against Man United and has had 3 shots that I should say on target from outside the box even. And he's had 3 shots on target from outside the box in their last 3 matches. So that's since Haaland came off with the injury, basically. He's a very capable forward, isn't he, Marmouche? And he looks exceptional. He was exceptional for Frankfurt. And he pops up in areas, he occupies that half space quite frequently, and he's difficult to pick up. I think Everton will focus on getting bodies in that box, and there may be space for him to let fly from just outside the area. So it lends itself nicely to this shot on target outside the box angle. It's one that's certainly taken my fancy against an Everton side that to sort of leave space in that area of the field, and I don't see City creating an abundance of clear-cut chances from inside the box. So maybe reverting to a trend that they have all season, which is shooting from outside the areas, is going to happen again.
Yeah, he's class, isn't he, Marmoush? I thought ever since he's come over to England, I thought he's brilliant. Saw a bit of him in the Bundesliga, but I'm always a bit skeptical how you can go from Bundesliga or Liga, go to Premier League and kick on straight away. Doesn't usually happen. So fair play. Started 9 games, scored 6 goals, pretty good return in the Premier League. And in terms of the market, Scott, shots from outside the box on Bet365, that's a new market, isn't it, for Bet365?
Yeah, in the recent weeks, I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they offer play a shot on target from outside the box and play a headed shot on target. So this is quite interesting. I'm sure that's something we'll delve into in the coming weeks, but particularly with teams being so good from set pieces this season. So it's an interesting one. It's nice to be able to see the price early here. As I say, Sky Bet and Paddy Power may beat this price as we get closer to kickoff. There's no super sub on this market, so you'd be happy to take it wherever you can get it. But for now, it does look like a solid bet. And as you say, Marmoush has been really, really exceptional. And I think it's even more impressive when you consider how poor, I say relatively, in relative to how good City have been in recent years, how poor City have been, and coming into a team that's expectation is sky high. You really have to win at Man City, and they're just not winning at the moment. They're facing a battle to finish in the Champions League places. Haaland now injured, and it doesn't seem to have phased Mamouche. He's a very good player.
Have you seen any prices on Bet365, like in this market, where you thought they've just completely got it wrong? Because I know there's always scope, isn't there, for a bookmaker to bring in a new market and just get things horribly wrong.
Less so on this one. Nothing that really stands out. I think it's because other bookmakers have offered it for quite a while, so I'm assuming they've done their due diligence on their part. But sometimes it does happen. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Done the homework. We'll move straight on to Brentford versus Brighton. We are going to be focusing on Nathan Collins in our next selection, a player that I've actually been really impressed by recently. I think he's been brilliant of late, improving week on week, consistent, and I sort of start looking into this selection. Collins and Van Dijk are the two outfield players that have played every single minute in the Premier League this season, so he's durable too, which is a brilliant trait, as we know. And Brentford's last two games have seen him pair back up with Van der Berg, who picked up an injury in February. And before his injury, they featured in 7 consecutive games and built up a really good understanding between each other. And that defensive structure at Brentford, it looks and feels much more stable with them two at the heart of defence. And I think we've seen that in the past 2 games against Chelsea. I think that was 0-0. And Emirates at the weekend just gone, which was 1-1. With obviously Nathan Collins at the heart of that defence. How are you looking to get him on side here, Scott, on another Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff?
Well, Arsenal didn't seem to put him under massive pressure personally last week. He didn't make the foul that I'm looking for in this bet, but the numbers are still very, very good. So I'm backing Nathan Collins to make at least one foul in the match at 1.83. Also with 365, but again, keep an eye on the other bookmakers closer to kickoff. They will offer it. I think Paddy Power went up for about 2.1 last week, so you might get a slightly better price, but it's certainly an appealing bet. Brighton are forcing a good number of fouls. They've got a willingness to run in wide areas, and they're quite direct when they want to be. I've enjoyed watching them under Fabian Hersler, but this is a point in the season now where they really need to win. It's not about performing well. They're 10th in the league at the moment, but as we were saying, 8th place will likely be enough to secure a place in Europe. And Brighton, they need to get a point on the board if that's going to happen. It's very, very doable. It certainly would have been their aim coming into the season. Brighton, a very well run football club, and their most recent game against Leicester, obviously disappointing 2-2 draw. But both Leicester centre backs picked up a yellow card, and those cards were 4 fouls. So back in the Brentford centre half to make a foul here looks very nice. Brentford made 12 fouls in the reverse. Ben Mee made 3 of them. Collins didn't make any, but that sort of role is shifted in recent weeks. Collins is the guy that's making a lot of these cynical fouls, trying to break up counters or preventing the half turn. He's making 1.08 fouls per 90 over the course of the whole season, but he's made 1 foul or more in 8 of his last 11 matches. So the price of 1.83 are very, very appealing there.
Okay, yeah, just having a quick look at the table. Brighton, 48 points, level with Fulham, level with Bournemouth in 9th and 8th, so still much to play for. Do you think, going off-piste a little bit, do you think Brighton will get top 8, or would you be backing Fulham and Bournemouth to outdo them?
I like Bournemouth. I know you like Bournemouth as well, so I'm fancying Bournemouth. They played pretty well against Fulham the other day. I know they had to absorb some pressure, but Evan Nielsen hit the bar. Probably should have took that chance in a 2-0. Didn't really see Fulham coming back. They didn't come back anyway from 1-0. I think the current top eight's probably where it's at, if I'm being honest. But you couldn't rule out Brighton is so tight in there. And Brighton were the form team just a few weeks ago. They've just put a poor run together, to be honest.
Yeah, and instantly when I look at Brentford v Brighton, not sure why, but instantly I look at that as a matchup and think there's goals in that. It's got to be some kind of action. I've just seen that the last two head-to-heads were 0-0 apiece. So I'm not quite sure where I've got that from. Although in the last head-to-head, there was about 2.38 XG. Brighton had 24 shots at home. So maybe just unlucky on that front. But I'm expecting goals here. Like we said, Brighton got a little bit to play for. And hopefully Nathan Collins can pick up a foul. That would be very nice. Right then, moving on to Monday Night Football at 8 o'clock in the evening over in the UK. Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest. Tottenham opened at 2.05 favourites here against Forest, which did look really short considering they're obviously in Europa League action in Germany on Thursday evening. Tottenham drifted out to 2.45 now to win the game, with Forest shortening into 2.63. Thursday, Sunday turnaround for Spurs here. And again, we spoke about it last week. There's not too much on the line in the Premier League, Scott. For Spurs, quite clearly a gap in motivation levels between the two teams. Forest side leading a charge towards the Champions League, and a Spurs 11 that, in Premier League terms anyway, probably can't wait for a disappointing domestic season to end.
Yeah, down in 15th for the moment, ahead of the Monday night game. So it's
15th.
Not a lot to play for.
It's not great, is it?
I think, to be honest, the likes of Spurs and Man United are quite lucky. I don't think they would have gone down, but I would like to say normal Premier League season, but maybe this is the way the Premier League is going to be for now. But if the bottom three were fighting for their lives and not just down, it could have been a lot more uncomfortable than it currently is.
If one of those bottom three were competitive and they were up near West Ham and Wolves, then Tottenham and 2 points ahead of West Ham in 17th. It's just, like you said, fortunately for those few clubs, Everton, United, Tottenham, Wolves, West Ham, it's just fortunate there's such a big gap to the teams coming up from the Championship.
Yeah, in fairness, Tottenham 37 points, relegation is probably never going to happen. It just would have been an uncomfortable conversation for a club like Tottenham, like Man United, going into
very
the
uncomfortable
season. So
Man United especially.
Yeah, exactly that. But it's a massive game for Forest, this is as well. So that's the sort of the angle I'm looking at. Forest obviously deserve their plaudits this season. Been fantastic. Talk of Nuno Espirito Santo getting the manager of the season. Fair enough. Maybe Slot, maybe Santo, but whatever that happens in these next few weeks could be massive. That okay, Liverpool have wrapped up the league title, but I do understand those who would put, Searing Forest with top four finishes maybe a greater achievement, and that's another debate. But fair enough. But they're in danger of throwing away that Champions League place, which obviously is top five at the moment. Forest have been third in the Premier League since maybe match day 16, well above City, but now losing to Everton last game, it's really important they bounce back, and against a Tottenham side that okay, the focus is Europa League. Maybe their season will be completely gone by the time this kicks off, but Forest certainly need to be at it because Tottenham are not going to give them the result on home turf. So I've sided with over 1.5 fouls for Jota Silva, who is a madman for the fouls. He loves it. He doesn't get great game time, but he's getting on the pitch lately. He started the last two games. He made 2 in 59 minutes against Everton and 4 in 45 minutes against Villa. But obviously, we get the super sub here anyway, so even if he does get subbed off, the guy who comes on, okay, he might not be the same madman that Jota Silva is, but we do get the added possibility. What I found interesting is he came on in the 82nd minute in the reverse fixture against Tottenham and still managed to make his 2 fouls. So if he starts, you'd fancy him here.
It's impressive.
Very impressive to just get on the pitch for 10 minutes and kick 2 people. Well, Tottenham are the second most fouled team in the Premier League in Silva's defence, forcing 13.28 on average. So it just makes sense, to be honest here. He's had 2 fouls or more in his last 8 starts. An average of just 66 minutes, okay, isn't ideal, but super sub does give us a little bit more value there. So very happy with that bet. And he did it quickly against Everton. He did have the 2 in 59 minutes, but I'm pretty sure the bet was up within 15, 20 minutes. So same again.
In the nicest way possible. He's just ratty, isn't he? Like, I'm not sure how else to describe him. He's a bit of a pest type of player that you'd rather not play against. Won't give you much time on the ball at all. Will get in your face, make the 90 minutes uncomfortable. So yeah, fouls seem a really reasonable way in. I suppose it's just a case of whether he's going to start, how many minutes he gets. But like you said, he's making fouls at a rate of knots, and he's the type of player where I think that's just a part of his game. Like I know, like Diego Costa, for example, we mentioned him last week. I know he went on record and said like I needed something in the match to get me going. Like I needed a big challenge, or I needed to ruffle a few feathers, else I wouldn't be at the height of my game. And I feel like Jota Silva is probably the same kind of thing. So a foul, at least one foul, I'm going to say if he starts is almost guaranteed. And then we're just waiting on the second. And at what, 1.90? Pretty good price. Do you expect that price to be a bit bigger elsewhere, or do you reckon that'll be as good as it gets?
I think that'll probably be as good as it gets for Jota Silva. I'd expect the Collins one to be slightly better elsewhere, but
Well,
Silva,
because
I
he's
think,
a centre back and it's not usually the position to rack up fouls.
yeah, yeah. But whereas even though Silva obviously is a wing and it's not usually one, but his data just overrides it so much. But yeah, as you say, he's got that thing in his psyche where he just needs to kick people, and there's a few South Americans like it. There has been in history,
Yeah.
and they just, it's fair enough. It's good to have players like that in your team. They take the game to the opposition. I really like him as a player, but I like him even more if he makes his two fouls on on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, as a neutral, that's, what else do you want? An attacking player that likes to get forward, likes to, you know, kick people. Perfect. Brilliant. Yeah, hopefully he starts. Hopefully Nathan Collins makes a foul, and hopefully Marmoush has got his shooting boots on. We'll leave it at that, Scott. Nice and quick. If you are going to be taking any of these prop bets on this show, then please do gamble responsibly. Also, please do give our YouTube channel a follow, because this is going to be going out. The top of the props going to be going out every single week. So yeah, we'll see you again next week. Scott, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you soon.